G'day trendsetters, how are you today? I've got some lavender cuttings here that need to be potted on. This is Lavandula dentata, or French lavender. Grows pretty good in our climate, which is a little bit hot and humid in summer. A lot of the English and other varieties of lavender don't tend to do so well around here, but the French lavender, tough as nails. I've had this one in one form or another for about 27 years. Just a little story. This is what I call Dad's lavender. When he died 6, 7 years ago, something like that, my not quite wife went for a walk after the funeral. We went back to his place, and she picked half a dozen of these little lavenders and found a tin and just put it in a tin. And we went back home. The tin sat there for about a week, and I think I was doing my horticultural course at this time. And I picked this tin up about a week later, and I saw these cuttings, and well, they weren't really cuttings then, they were just bits that she'd broken off. And I thought, I wonder if these will strike, which I didn't really think they would after a week sitting in this tin. But I took the cuttings, I made little cuttings out of them, and 27 years ago it struck. So as the bush starts to look a bit sad, which is usually around 5 or 6 years, I'll take a whole fresh bunch of cuttings and away we go again. So this is a little link back to my dad. So it's always been called. I actually think my sister, who was living on my dad's farm, not at the time, but just not long before it, had planted the lavender, but it's still call it Dad's lavender. So what I need to do basically is I'll just pop these out the way as gently as I can. So I've multi-planted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 plants I've got in there. So I need to tip them out of here. They're well and truly struck. As you can see, they've all produced new growth, and they've even gone, these two here have gone, 3 have gone on to produce flowers. Another thing I'd like to mention, the best I can tell, there's no right or wrong time to take cuttings of lavenders. I took these at the end of autumn, just before winter, and granted our winter hasn't been all that cold, but the days shorten, everything else happens. And probably after about 6 weeks, they showed signs that they'd struck roots. And I've left them now for 2 or 3 weeks just to get a better root system established. And there you go. So we're in the first week of August. So that's 4, 8, 9, about 10 weeks in winter. The only difference between now and taking cuttings in spring or even summer is that it would all happen a whole lot quicker. But if you're really pushed and you want to strike lavenders in winter, by all means. Right, now assume you can see that. I don't know how well it is showing up, but there's a great set of root systems there. So I'm just going to tease it apart gently as I can. It doesn't matter, the potting mix is going to fall away, and then I need to separate them down into individual plants. Now this French lavender, Lavandula dentata, really is quite hardy, so I'm not concerned about it. So half fill your pot, grab your cutting and just sit the root system in there. You want to try and maintain the original height that you had the cutting in the pot back into this pot, and just top it off. That's it. Little tap, job done. Just for a little bit of trivia, the dentata in the Lavandula dentata, denta sounds like dentist, which is what they're referring to, which is they're referring to teeth, and what they're saying is that the ridge along the edge of the leaf is described as tooth-like, which is where they get the dentata from. So anytime you look at a French lavender now, you're going to be able to think, aha, teeth. All right, I've got a few to go. I'll whiz through these. I also wanted to mention the reason why I took cuttings of the lavender, which is not the bush that I took the cuttings from is doing okay. But up behind me here, I've got a smallish area that I'm trying to turn into a bee garden, or a bee-friendly garden. I've got perennial basil, which I actually found downtown. It's the local council must have planted it in the gardens, but I was walking along one day and this basil was in flower and the bees were just going nuts on it. Native bees, little Australian native bees, and the traditional honeybee, if you like. So to add to the perennial basil, I wanted to put a couple of lavenders up there because they're notorious for attracting bees. I've also picked up 4 natives, Leptospermum, Grevillea, Bottlebrush, and something else I've forgotten now. Little natives, they're only little 1 to 2 metre tall natives. So I'll plant them all in this area as a way to attract bees. I've also got a borage in there, and some calendula, which the bees like as well. In time, I'll probably put other herbs in there, little thyme. Thyme only flowers for a short time, but it does attract a lot of bees. Oregano, yeah, so little bee garden. Bee, not beer, bee. That's what the lavender, I won't use all the lavender, I'll give some of this away. Yeah, I might give one to my sister and I'll tell her that it was the one that she planted on Dad's farm all those years ago. Look at that one. Per usual, I'll give these a really good watering in with sea salt, and after a week or 2 I'll start adding a little bit of liquid power feed just to give them a bit of a kick along. This is the funnest job, I reckon, propagating. I've run out of pots. How many do I need? 1, 2, 5. They'll be fine to plant out, 4 or 5 weeks. We're coming into spring, so they'll take off. But if you found that interesting in any way, I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it if you will. It's all good fun, and with a bit of luck, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, and thanks for watching. Job done.